taste fouls the water. Memories of your moments in those places grab your heart when you consider the dead river, the smudged horizon, the dying hemlock and pinon trees, the meadow paved for a mall, the silence over the roses that honeybees no longer visit, the twilight sky drained of bats. The dark side of nature seeps into your memory and imagination and reminds you not just of what the place used to be, but what you too used to be when it was part of you. So now what do? How do you live with those places, not as you once knew them or wish they had been or could be again, but as they are? I thought I was prepared. I expected an embattled shade of green in the grasses and bushes, probably a few dead trees, and perhaps, in the distance, an old relic of a building exiled behind a fence. However, as we walked around the curve of the trail that contoured Blue Mountain high above the Lehigh River, we stopped short. "Oh, my God!" gasped my friend Liz Brenzinger. What we had never expected was an entire vast gray dead hillside plunging all the way down to the river. Only a few sparse patches of grass managed to survive on the bare soil, so depleted by erosion that the stony substrate of the land was exposed like a body wounded to the bone. Trees lay strewn on the ground, their spindly trunks offering clear evidence that they had died long before they reached maturity. The few leafless skeletal trees that did remain upright stood only a few feet high. Everything about the place looked so abused and hopeless. It was as if all life had given up even attempting to root there. The only thing my imagined picture had gotten right was the old relic. Behind a chain-link fence on the crest of the slope across the river stood the zinc smelter, a long brick box of a building with 4 or 5 stories of broken windows and a rusting metal roof. The place was silent, and there was no sign of birds. But we had chosen this route on purpose. We set out that morning to hike this particular section of the Appalachian Trail, knowing that we would pass a contaminated former zinc smelter. Palmerton Zinc had shut down its operations in 1980, after 82 years of processing zinc ores from mines as close to my home as the neighboring counties of east-central Pennsylvania and as far away as Thailand. Over all those decades, the plant had been releasing toxic cadmium, lead, sulfur, and zinc into the air and waters of this rural landscape. Although it had finally closed because of the decline of the zinc market, the severity of the pollution in the area had propelled the site to the Superfund's National Priorities List. Cleanup had begun in 1987. From where we stood, however, it was obvious that 12 years later, Environmental Protection Agency, EPA crews either had yet to reach this particular region of the 2.5-mile area of contamination, or else their restoration efforts had not been a success. I had met Liz, a journalist and grant writer living in the Lehigh Valley, a couple of years earlier at a conference in Colorado. Discovering another nature lover and environmentalist who lived only 2 hours away from my own home was a surprise to both of us, and we had taken several hikes together since then. We had come to Blue Mountain because we wanted to confront a place that we were sure few hikers on the popular Appalachian Trail were likely to pose in front of for a triumphant photo. I had begun to feel that something was missing from the way the environmental movement thought about and addressed the problems it encountered. I witnessed lots of efforts to protect pristine endangered wilderness areas and clean up places that were already damaged. But there was another kind of place that nobody seemed to be paying attention to, and that encompassed the ones that were neither currently beautiful nor slated to receive remediation to restore their former beauty. Paved over, broken down, polluted, drained, they were often nothing but eyesores.